Did you know that 90% of food allergies are caused from only 8 ingredients?
Today, we're going to create a meal avoiding all 8 of those major categories. We're going to start it today with seared chicken breast over a roasted asparagus risotto with a red pepper coulis.
And we're going to finish our menu today with a dessert of poached pear and balsamic glaze.
So Dave, the risotto takes the longest, so we're going to start with that.
Oh, wonderful.
The first thing we're going to want to do, get a small dice on an onion. I'll show you guys how. You just want to cut right in, line it all up, and just get a fine dice. Don't worry if it falls apart. All you have to do afterwards is just put it back together and give it a good chop. You're looking for about a ½ inch.
Excellent. So the first category of ingredients that we're trying to avoid right now with the rice dish is wheat, right?
Yes, exactly, because you don't want to use a pasta. You want to avoid the wheat. If you're having someone come over for dinner with a gluten allergy or wheat allergy or an intolerance, you definitely want to stay away. And with the arborio rice, you don't get that gluten in there.
Excellent, excellent.
So the first thing you want to do is put a little bit of oil in your pan, medium-high heat. You want to add your onion right in. For 2 people, about a ½ cup. Going up from there, 4 people, a full cup.
Right.
Move it around a little bit. You're gonna let it simmer. You want to get like a golden brown to it. Take you about a minute and a half.
I'm gonna move over and start the pear, so I'm gonna get that going right now. Very simply, but we just have to peel it. Just that nice strips. You want this to look good because this will be the final presentation. So, and you notice I'm leaving the stem on. That's also part of the final presentation of the pear. And now I'm going to take the core out from the bottom, and simply with my paring knife, I'm just going to first start by cutting a round hole to get into the core, and then just insert the paring knife a little bit further in and turn it. All you're trying to do is dig out the inside of that pear. Get all the seeds out. The last step of preparing the pear is just to cut the bottom nice and flat, so when we present it, we can stand it up and it'll stay standing, it won't roll all around. You do want a firm pear, you don't want a soft pear. Again, for the same reason, when the poaching process, you don't want to turn it into pear sauce like applesauce. So we're just going to put that in the pan like that. We have a nice glass of red wine, dry red wine. Okay. That goes right in the saucepan. A little bit of brown sugar, just for a little added sweetness.
Now, could I use regular sugar for that?
You could use the regular granulated sugar. I tend to like the little bit of added molasses flavor that is left into the brown sugar. And then I'm just going to add about 2 cups of water, okay, so that there's enough poaching liquid to almost completely cover the pear. And then we just cover that up, place it on the stove, and let it cook very, very slowly, just until you start to see the bubbles come up in the liquid. You don't want a full rolling boil.
Just add a simmer.
Correct.
All right, so now our onions are nice and golden brown. We're going to add a little bit of the arborio rice. For 2 people, you're going to want to do about a cup and a half. For 4, maybe around 3 cups. So you're just going to add it, and you're just going to mix it with a non-reactive spoon, whether it be a metal spoon or a silicone spoon is what you really want to use. It'll take about 2.5 minutes to get a nice toast to it, and then after that you add the liquid.
The balsamic glaze, I have to get that going for the pear. And simply I'm just going to take a small saucepan, add about a cup to a cup and a half of balsamic vinegar. And I'm also going to add a little bit of brown sugar to this as well. Okay? And then this goes onto your cooktop. And what we do is a process called reduction. And this is going to reduce. We're going to evaporate the excess water out of there. We're going to concentrate the sugars that are in the vinegar. Believe it or not, there are natural sugars in vinegar. And through that reduction process, you'll get a thick, syrupy product.
I am ready for my liquid right now. We're using chicken stock today. Again, avoiding any shellfish stock, any beef stock. I prefer the chicken for the flavor. It's got a nice light hint to it, and it just works out great. So you want to put enough liquid in to just cover the rice, keep it on a simmer. You don't really want to bring it to a boil. You want to keep it just below a boil and just let it naturally work through. It's going to take about 20 minutes total of this piece. It'll take about 3 or 4 different times you keep adding liquid. And you always want to constantly stir.
Right.
So
what are some of the other allergy categories that we're avoiding today, Peter?
We're also avoiding nuts, both tree nuts and legumes, your peanuts, etc. Shellfish and fish. We're going with chicken instead.
So while you have that going now, we're going to move on to searing the chicken breast that's going to go on top of the risotto once that's finished. Here we have a 4-ounce chicken breast, and as we said before, portion size and healthy eating go hand in hand. So when we buy a chicken breast from the grocery store, what should we be looking for?
You want to look for something about the size of the palm of your hand, about 4 ounces, about the size of a deck of cards is what you're looking for.
Right. A lot of times nowadays, the packages in the grocery stores themselves, the chicken breast might be a little larger than that. So, you know, cutting them to size is probably the best way to go about that. All right, and this is very, very simple preparation to incorporate some good flavors in this chicken breast, keep out any major ingredients that cause allergies. We're just very simply going to use olive oil and coat both sides of our chicken breasts. I've already done the first side. Here's the second side. We're also going to use just a little bit of salt and pepper to bring out natural flavors. Good food, good quality ingredients. You don't really need to prepare that extensively. And we're simply just going to lay it right in the saute pan. You can hear it bubble. Cooking with sounds is one of the things you got to pay attention to. You can tell automatically just by the sound the pan makes when you place ingredients in it, whether it's hot enough, too cold. So we're just going to let that get a nice color on each side. Okay, I'll show you as we flip it. And you want to tell us some more about the risotto?
We've cooked it for about 15-20 minutes so far. We've added a total of about a quart, maybe a little bit over 40 ounces of chicken stock. And we're at a point now where we're going to add the asparagus.
Excellent.
Yeah, one of the key ingredients we're avoiding is dairy.
Right.
In a traditional risotto, you will have just a little bit of butter and a little bit of either pecorino romano or parmesan right at the end.
Exactly.
In a traditional risotto, you would never even think about putting milk or cream.
Right.
So we avoided that because you get the creaminess from the rice itself.
Okay.
So we just simply avoided the butter by just adding a little bit extra virgin olive oil.
Yep.
And we're avoiding the cheese at the end because I think we can still get enough flavor from the roasted asparagus.
Excellent, excellent. Good job.
So what you want to do is just add the asparagus right into the pan. And just stir it right in. And then it's going to need to cook for about another 4 or 5 minutes. And then you want it to be creamy but al dente, which is just a little firm to the taste, not soft and mushy.
Right.
A little bit of texture to your rice is always a good rice.
So as you can see over here, I haven't even touched my chicken yet. I'm just letting it go. The more you move the chicken in the pan, the more of its own natural juices that you're going to let escape. So we just let that go. As you start to see the edges turn white, it tells you that it's cooking on that side. About, I'd say, 3 to 5 minutes per side. And then we're also going to test the temperature of the chicken. I'll show you how to do that.
For the red pepper coulis, all we simply did was put the red pepper on a gas burner. It starts to char up a little bit. Take 3 to 4 minutes, turn it and roll. If you don't have a gas burner, you can just use an electric oven with a broiler. Just set it on the broiler, leave the door open a little bit, and you can run right through it. It'll take the same amount of time, but you just got to be careful and make sure you're turning it accordingly. Right.
And the reason why we chose the red pepper to complement this dish and to turn it into a sauce was when we thought about the colors. We have basically a brown and white chicken breast. We have a white risotto with a little green in it. So that's why we incorporated the red peppers. Plus it has a little bit sweeter flavor. And it just overall is a nice complement with the risotto.
It really is. You could use a yellow pepper. You could use a cubanelle if you want. You would to get a green. But you want to stay away from using just a plain old green pepper. You're just not going to get the right flavor or the color as well. Once the pepper is completely charred all the way around, you want to put it in either a covered bowl with plastic wrap or a paper bag and let it stand for about 20 minutes. All right, Dave, our peppers are ready. Just take it out of the bag. All you really want to do is you just want to rinse it off. A little bit of cold water. The skin will peel right off of it. It's okay if there's a little bit left on. It'll add a little bit of a charred, smoky flavor to it. Never a bad thing. So after that, you just want to reach in, pierce through it, pull the top off. That doesn't make for good eating. And just rinse the seeds out.
Okay, so the coulis sauce, very simply, what he's about to prepare, it just means puree. And as soon as you can get the lid open.
Lid's off.
Right, we'll get that in there, peppers in there. We're gonna put some garlic cloves in, right?
Just one. I'm gonna use a little bit of extra virgin olive oil just to thin it out a little bit. Highest setting you have on your blender would work great.
Okay, so I have a chicken breast prepared. I just want to check the temperature real quick. I have a instant read thermometer, and simply I want to get it into the middle of the thickest part, and you can see the dial going up there. I want it to reach 165. All poultry should be temped at 165 degrees. That is what is deemed safe temperature.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of risotto at the bottom of the bowl.
And I'm going to start cutting the chicken.
Now it should be a little loose and it should spread a little bit like that.
Beautiful, nice and white, right on top of there.
Now just simply take a spoon, stir it up a little bit if it needs to be stirred.
This rice looks nice and creamy, even though we didn't add any cream.
No cream at all, and just put a little bit of sauce over the top.
Beautiful of the short grain arborio rice. Gives off its starch and gives it that wonderful texture. Oh, look at that. So now that we've had that, I think it's time to check on dessert. The pears, I think they're almost ready. As you can see, we have our poached pears ready. They're in the liquid. The cooking has really softened the pears. So very, very simple presentation. Let the pear drain out a little bit so we don't make a mess going to the plate. Just gonna stand it up right there. Stand up a second one. And again, this is important. That's why we cut off the bottom before we started cooking it, so that it would stand up nice and neat when we go to plate. And this is the balsamic reduction, glaze reduction that we made. Don't need a lot of this. It's quite strong flavor. But we just let that drizzle right over the top. All right, so we're ready to taste this one.
Sure am. This looks delicious.
We didn't include any dairy products. Cooked simply. Simple food. Tastes great.
That's the way to do it. Oh, that's fantastic.
All right, Pete, thank you very much. Another job well done. Successful menu.
Yeah, I have to tell you, avoiding those 8 top key allergens and coming up with a delicious meal, it was kind of fun to do this one.
Thanks for tuning in and watching today's Men in Aprons episode. Today's show featured an entree and dessert prepared completely free of the top food allergens. 8 foods account for 90% of all food-related allergic reactions. These foods are milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, soy, and wheat. People with food allergies may tend to eat many of the same foods day to day for fear of allergic reactions. And as a result of this eating pattern, it may leave them deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. It's a good idea to take a basic multivitamin and additional calcium. Think of it like an insurance policy to help meet your daily nutritional needs. In addition, it may be helpful to meet with a registered dietitian to review your individual dietary needs and develop a food plan when someone has multiple food allergies to manage. I hope today's episode demonstrated that consuming tasteful, nutritious, and well-balanced meals is an easy task with a little planning, even if you do have multiple food allergies. Some tips to review. Risotto is a nice wheat-free grain since it's from the rice family, but it contains very little fiber. So to increase the fiber of this meal, you could use a different wheat-free grain such as quinoa or brown rice. And always try to make your plate as colorful as possible and nutrient-rich by adding a nice steamed vegetable, seasonal local when available, such as asparagus, which is available through June. Please stay tuned for future cooking episodes. Thanks again for tuning in.